The views and opinions expressed on America's Workforce Union podcast and its digital media channels are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of the producers or sponsors.
Welcome to the America's Workforce Radio Podcast, the flagship production of the American Workers Radio and Podcast Network, where organized labor and its never-ending fight to protect the rights of the American worker come first. Now, presented by LIUNA, Laborers International Union of North America. Here's your host, Ed Flash Ferenc.
Our crowded skies, new technologies, do they mean fewer air traffic controllers? Well, the FAA thinks so. Meanwhile, steelworkers celebrating a tentative 3-year agreement with Arconic. And today on the show, the United Association's Veterans in Piping Program. Welcome to the Monday Memorial Day edition of America's Workforce, where we are available on at least 5 platforms. That includes YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. We have one featured guest on the show today, and I'll tell you, we've had him on the show many, many times, especially on Memorial Day. I mean, this is a special day. Special day because it's the day we honor the people who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Now, Mike Hazard is going to talk about the significance of this day, and he's going to talk about what he's doing at the United Association's Veterans in Piping Program. Here's the website you want to go to, uavip.org. This is a program that offers high-quality skills, training, and jobs, in the pipe trades to active duty military personnel preparing to leave the service. And he's going to run down some numbers. This program has been around since 2008. Mike joined it in October of 2012, where he accepted a position as the training specialist assigned to veterans in piping. He's got an interesting history that he'll share with us. I mean, he pretty much got out of high school back in the late 80s, joined the UA in 1987, and then a year later said, you know what, I want to enlist in the Navy. And he was in the Navy for about 11 years, and then he came back to the UA. And today he's going to talk about the Veterans in Piping Program, which is a program also that's affiliated with the Union Veterans Council. That's another great website, unionvets.org. We salute all the vets out there who have really served our country and continue to serve our country as well. So our featured guest today is Mike Hazard. He's going to run down all the details of the program. And then later in the show, you know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Many times on this show, we have addressed that issue, mental health, and especially suicide prevention, because in the construction trades, it's ridiculously high. We're making a dent in it, but certainly not enough. And there's a lot of programs, a lot of resources, and Mike is very, very passionate about making sure if you see somebody that may be struggling, thinking about taking his or her own life, reach out. Reach out. There's a darn good chance you can help them. Darn good chance. Again, the website, uavip.org, and there's a lot of member assistance programs that the trades are involved in right now. Now, a brief look into the world of labor. This segment brought to you by Boyd Watterson Asset Management. You can find more at boydwatterson.com. The Federal Aviation Administration has released its air traffic controller workforce plan for this year going through 2028. The agency actually cut its air traffic controller staffing target by about 2,000 people. Why? They claim that efficiency can be improved through modern staffing models and scheduling tools. Now, as of last month, there are approximately 11,000 air traffic controllers deployed across 300 FAA facilities, which is significantly below the previous full staffing target of 14,633 and still below the new target of 12,563. The FAA's air traffic controller shortage is, well, it's been going on a long time. A lot of that exacerbated by COVID-19 and the recent government shutdowns. Well, the Trump administration, we talked about this on the show maybe about a month ago, they launched a campaign to recruit video gamers and expand existing air traffic collegiate training initiative programs. The FAA states that its performance optimization plan involves working with the National Air Traffic Controllers Association to identify and resolve bottlenecks, but NADCA, the union, says it was not involved in developing the new workforce plan. Well, yeah, because there's not going to be enough controllers. This is one to watch. And the skies are pretty darn crowded and have been for quite some time. The United Steelworkers have announced that the union reached a tentative agreement with Arconic on a new 3-year master agreement covering workers at 4 facilities. Now, what's Arconic? That's an industrial company specializing in lightweight metals engineering and manufacturing. Their products are used all around the world in aerospace, automotive, packaging, oil and gas, building and construction, defense, commercial transportation, even consumer electronics. In fact, Arconic was originally part of Alcoa. The name Arconic was first used in 2016 when Alcoa was separated into 2 companies. Now, getting back to the story, the details of this agreement will be presented to the membership before ratification votes are conducted at each local union. Emil Ramirez is the International Vice President and Chair of the Bargaining Committee. Emil says, from the beginning of these talks, our members stood together and made clear that they were determined to secure a fair agreement that recognizes their hard work and dedication. He went on to say the solidarity shown by our membership across all 4 Arconic locations gave this committee the strength and unity needed to reach a tentative agreement that we are proud to bring back to the members. So again, it's going to the members for a ratification vote. And if you want to get more from the Steelworkers, one of our great sponsors, just go to usw.org. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Mike Hazard, the head of the VIP program, Veterans in Piping, part of the United Association, right here on America's Workforce. Don't go away.
You're listening to America's Workforce with Ed Flash Ferenc.
It takes LiUNA to power North America with affordable energy. The men and women of LiUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, have the skills needed to build and maintain oil, natural gas, nuclear, solar, and wind projects that are shaping America's energy future. From new energy tech to retrofitted facilities, LiUNA members do it all. Find out what it takes to be powered by LiUNA at liuna.org. That's liuna.org.
America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the United Steelworkers. You can find more at usw.org. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the Communication Workers of America. You can find more at cwa-union.org.
There is unity and strength for workers.
We are the USW.
We are the USW.
The United Steelworkers.
The largest industrial union in North America.
We represent 850,000 members in the U.S., Canada, and the Caribbean.
We work in metals,
rubber,
chemicals,
paper,
oil refining,
atomic energy,
and the service sector.
We are steelworkers, standing strong and fighting for what's right.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. For more information, please visit bmwe.org.
American workers are sick of struggling to get by. It's time to get ahead. In the Teamsters Union, workers are winning industry-leading contracts, historically high wages, fully paid health care, and retirement benefits you can count on. Across the country, Teamsters fight alongside our brothers and sisters to secure a better life. It's what we've been doing and how we've been living for more than a century. When we fight, we win. Join us. Be a Teamster.
America's Workforce is presented by the Laborers International Union of North America. Feel the power right now at liuna.org.
Now, back to America's Workforce. Here's Ed Flash Ferenc.
And remember, you can check us out on Facebook or follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. That would be AWF Union Podcast, AWF Union Podcast. Well, today is Memorial Day, the federal holiday dedicated to honoring the men and women who died while serving the U.S. military. This day has been observed for over 150 years, and it's only appropriate that we have a Veterans in Piping guy on the show today. We've had Mike Hazard on the show so many times, and we appreciate what he has done for vets, and we appreciate his service. Now, Mike is a third-generation member of the United Association of Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, and back in 1987, he graduated from high school in Santa Maria, California, and joined the UA Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, that would be Local 114 in Santa Barbara, California, as a pipe tradesman. And in 1988, he put his UA career on hold and joined the United States Navy. Proudly served as an aviation rescue swimmer and H-46 helicopter mechanic for 11 years before being honorably discharged. That was back in 1999 as a petty officer, first class. Mike Hazard, welcome back to America's Workforce. I thank you for joining us today, and I thank you for your service. We should also remember that Mike and the Veterans in Piping program is part of the Union Veterans Council, which brings working class veterans together to speak out on a number of issues, and that website is unionvets.org. Mike, once again, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us today. Why don't you start off by giving us a little background? And, every time I talk to you, more and more vets are joining the Veterans in Piping program, and you are instrumental in all this. And this being Mental Health Awareness Month, you have done a lot with regard to that issue, especially in the trade. So we want to talk about that as well later in the show. But first and foremost, Veterans in Piping. Brother, let's start right there. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's great to be back on. I do appreciate all the kind words. Very proud of my military service, and I'd do it all over again in a heartbeat. But when you talk about the VIP program, the UA's Veterans in Piping program, it's unique. There's a lot of, we're classified now as a DoD SkillBridge program. We were the ones that started that effort back in 2008. We've been doing this for over 18 years. We've got an amazing track record. The VIP program is really the showcase of the UA's commitment to support veterans as they transition out of their military service. We want to make sure that everybody has the shot at a long-term career, that provides growth and taps into the diverse skills that they've acquired through their military service. It's just a great coupling of those discipline, the strong work ethic. They're motivated. They're very teachable, our service members, and they're not looking for charity. They're looking for an opportunity to prove themselves. And that's exactly what we've done. We've provided them with some basic safety training, some entry-level job skills, and give them a little leg up when they walk on the job site. And it's been very successful. And we're committed to this. We're not backing down. We want to provide pathways to our military service members, whether they're transitioning out of the military or they're already in the civilian workforce as veterans. We also work with NAB2's Helmets to Hard Hats program. That's a outstanding pathway to the trades and to the UA. VIP is so constrained by timelines that we only get about 10% of those 200,000 military service members that are transitioning out of the military every year. Less than 10% of those get a chance to do programs like VIP. So while it's the Cadillac program and it's the way to come in because you're guaranteed, direct entry into the program, you're guaranteed job placement, and that's all on agreed upon locations and timelines. So it's really the best way to do transition, but we know that we miss a lot of people just because it's kind of constraining. That Helmets to Hard Hats is an excellent program, And we refer a lot of people that are transitioning out that can't get into VIP to helmets to hard hats. And we still coach them through the process and do a warm handoff with our local unions, send them their resume and introduce them to the business managers. So we are definitely committed to our military service members, and for several reasons, as I mean, they deserve it, number one. Number two, it's our duty. It's our duty as Americans to take care of those that have served us in the military. We're really proud to be able to do this.
You said only about 10% get the chance to get involved in VIP. Why is that? Is it because of competition or what?
No, it's really when you're on active duty and you come into your last year of your service contract, you enter into the transition phase. You make a decision or if you're going to re-enlist and stay in, or you're going to start your transition out. And then while this is going on, you're still doing your job in the military. You're still on a deployment schedule, possibly. You have to keep up with your responsibilities there. So it's kind of a juggling thing about maintaining this transition and your work responsibilities. And number two, that last 6 months of that year is where they can start participating in programs like VIP. They have to have their commanding officer's approval to do this. Our program is 117 days. Max allowable is 120. So we're right up against that max for the size of the program. So that becomes an issue for some commanders, letting their people go for that long. And then also timing. DoD has put together some guidelines for these programs, and they have to start and finish these programs while they're on active duty. So that creates a kind of a bottleneck when you have 180 days and this 117-day program has to fit in there. So we lose people that way. It's real. A lot of what's going on is mission priority. We don't compete with the mission of the military. We support that 100%. We don't compete with retention goals and reenlistment. We encourage our students to do that if that's what they want to do. That just creates fewer and fewer applicants that make it through. We do interview every single one of our applicants that comes into our program. That's kind of our first real touch with these folks. We talk to them at a job fair maybe, but now we get to sit down in a formal setting, make sure they know what they're getting themselves into, make sure they know what they're asking for, make sure they understand registered apprenticeship and all the benefits of that. Get to know them a little bit better we're just making sure that we're getting applicants that are serious about this, because the UA pays for all the costs associated with this Veterans in Piping program, which we're proud to do. But at the same time, we want to make sure we're getting people that are serious about this and not just trying to get out of duty for their last 180 days or whatever,
I hear you on that one. Bottom line, this program is truly a success. And I have to ask you, I think the last time you and I talked, you were on the Veterans in Piping program was on 7 military installations. Is that still the number? And that probably wasn't too easy to accomplish in itself, was it?
Right. No, that was we haven't added a new program in quite a few years. And that's because we targeted these 7 installations. A couple of the installations, we have dual programs. So we do have 9 programs. They all have separate class dates. So we can kind of finagle people with their schedules, like we talked about that in that last 180 days. But those are the major installations where the majority of people transition out of the military. That's what we looked at for our footprint. We wanted to be geographically diverse, and we wanted to make sure we had the biggest audience of transitioning service members. That's kind of how we picked where we are now. And the military has adopted this hub and spoke concept where they will allow their service members to travel to other installations that have programs. They realize that we can't have a program at every single installation. So they allow their people to come a certain distance away from their home base to participate in programs like this. Our programs, we have right now, our Camp Pendleton program, we have people from the Coast Guard, we have people from the Army, we have Marines, we have Navy, all throughout that class. So, and we see that service members that have traveled from overseas to participate in these programs. There's a couple sailors from Okinawa and Hawaii that are in some of our stateside classes. So that's working, getting people aware that they don't necessarily have to pick a program that's where they're going to be living when they get out. The program has nationwide job placement. So everybody in those classes gets to tell us where they want to go and when they want to start work. And that's one of my most awesome responsibilities, is making sure that we keep our promise in that regard, that we provide direct entry into the apprenticeship program and we get them to work when they arrive.
So since VIP started, Mike, how many vets have gone through the program? Do we have a number on that right now?
You bet. Right now, we're looking at just over 3,700 graduates that have gone through the program. Like you'd mentioned, we do have 9 programs. They run continuously. So in a perfect calendar year, we're looking at 3 classes per program, per installation. Those classes range from 10 to 20, depending on the discipline that we're teaching in those classes. So we're looking at an average of about 300, 350 graduates per year coming out of the VIP program. Our focus is really in quality and keeping our word. Quantity is what, the Army and all the other branches scream about. They want us to do more. They want us to do it faster, but we're really making sure that we're hitting the mark with every single person in this program. And to do that, we kind of like to keep it on the small side and make sure that it's a well-oiled machine in that way.
That's what we want. Mike, I have to take a quick break here. Mike Hazard is our featured guest on the show today. He heads the VIP program, that's Veterans in Piping program for the United Association, UAVIP.org. Let me repeat that, UAVIP.org. There's a lot of information on the Veterans in Piping program there. When we come back, we're going to talk about your health, not necessarily physical health. That's important, but mental health. And I'll tell you, in the trades, we have a lot of work to do. Mike's going to talk about that next right here on America's Workforce. Don't go away.
This is America's Workforce. More shows available at awfradio.com.
America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers. You can find more at ifpte.org. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the Ironworkers. You can find more at ironworkers.org. The Heat and Frost Insulators and Allied Workers are proud to be a title sponsor for America's Workforce Radio. The Insulators Union is leading the way in the mechanical insulation industry, fire stopping, and infectious disease control. Regarded as North America's energy conservation specialists, these professionals are known for their professional work and dedication. You can learn more about the Insulators Union at insulators.org. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the Heat and Frost Insulators Labor Management Cooperative Trust. Find out more at insulators.org/LMCT.
America's Workforce appreciates our sponsor, the Columbus Central Ohio Building and Construction Trades Council, who represents more than 18,000 workers from 19 affiliated local unions and district councils.
America's Workforce is sponsored in part by Boyd Watterson Asset Management, LLC. Find out more about our investment solutions tailored to meet the needs of Taft-Hartley funds at BoydWatterson.com.
It takes LIUNA to keep America running. Over 70,000 public employees are part of LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, delivering critical services such as healthcare and emergency response, as well as maintaining roads and sanitation systems. Even the National Postal Mail Handlers Union, representing over 47,000 U.S. postal workers, is affiliated with LIUNA. Find out what it takes for LIUNA to keep America running at LIUNA.org. That's LIUNA.org.
America's Workforce Radio is sponsored in part by the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 6, representing painters, glazers, drywall finishers, and sign and display industry workers. They remind you that belonging to a union is your right as an American.
Now, back to Ed Flash Ferenc with America's Workforce.
And remember, you can check us out on at least 5 platforms. That includes YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. And when you get an opportunity, here's what you do. Just sign up and receive our shows on a regular basis and give us a rating. We always appreciate those 5-star ratings, so please keep them coming. We also appreciate you as a listener of this show. I've been doing this show since 1998, 6 years now that we've been podcasting. And for 3 of the past years, well, we are the #1 union podcast in America, probably the world. I love that. awmpodcast.com. So thank you. Yeah, we're getting a lot of new listeners each and every day. Let's go back to our live line and rejoin Mike Hazard. Mike is with the United Association's Veterans in Piping program. And I'll tell you, it's so important that you serve the country. There's that transition part. And sometimes it's a rocky road. You want to make sure you want to make that transition as smooth as possible and get into a good job. And there's a lot of good jobs, especially in the trades, especially in the pipe trades. And that's what the Veterans in Piping program is all about. But there's another issue here, and that's the mental health of individuals, especially in the trades. Mike, you and I have talked about this so many times on the show. We have done countless shows on the suicide rate, especially in the trades. And then you think about the suicide rate with vets. I mean, it's horrific. We are doing a lot of things. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of resources. We had Dr. Sally Spencer on the show a number of times. I know you work with her. And a lot of these shows that we have done, they're all archived on awmpodcast.com. But I'd like to get your perspective on where we stand, because we're making inroads. But the other part of that, there's a long way to go. Talk to me about it, brother.
Right. And Flash, you have my commitment. I'm never going to stop talking about mental health, suicide prevention. It's personal for me. And for a lot of people, we're finding out the more we talk about mental health, the more we realize that way more people are affected by it than what we knew or thought. It became real for us in the VIP program when we lost a few of our graduates to suicide, and really, got tired of crying about it. We decided we're going to do something about it. I had the misconception when I was younger that suicide and conversations about mental health are something private, and it's something that is done between an individual and their doctor. That's part of the stigma. That's what we're trying to get past, is while it is a private conversation, it's a mental health epidemic. And we've got to do everything we can to normalize these conversations about mental health and let people know that it's okay to need help and it's okay to ask for help. And our goal really at the UA and in the VIP program is to create a working environment where people feel safe in asking for help, and people provide a help-giving working environment where we talk about mental health issues in our safety talks, toolbox talks in the morning. We can set the tone right there by talking about mental health and talking about the resources that are available to our members and what to do if they are concerned about somebody, how to have a conversation with somebody and let them know that there's resources and that they're not alone. It's all about peer support is really the avenue that we've adopted. We're pipe fitters, Flash. We're not therapists. We're not doctors. We're just concerned about our brothers and sisters, and we want to make sure everybody's safe and people aren't suffering in silence. We've lost too many. The suicide rate is high in the military, as you alluded to, and the construction industry as well. Construction workers are twice as likely to die from suicide than their civilian counterparts. And they're 6 times more likely to die of suicide than to die of an accident on the job. And if you think about all the safety procedures that we follow and that we talk about OSHA on the jobs and physical safety and all the money and time that's spent on that, and suicide is just kind of glossed over. So OSHA has now made it where you can train on suicide prevention and mental health topics during your OSHA 30 training. You can make that part of your curriculum. That's what we've done. We work with Colorado University on a suicide prevention and awareness program that's tailor-made for the construction industry. It's a 1 to 2 hour workshop, depending on the environment you're teaching in. It gives you that awareness that hey, there is a problem. And the prevention part, like, here's your role. You do have a role. You can help people. And then the awareness of resources like 988. That's an excellent resource. It's a suicide and crisis lifeline. You don't have to be having suicidal thoughts to call that line. You can call it anytime. You can call it for advice on how to help somebody. You can call it for some resources for yourself. And you can call it just to kick the tires and kind of see what it's about. So when you do get in a position where you want to refer it to somebody, you're aware of it, and that creates a little bit of trust between you and the person in crisis. And especially when you have talked to 988 yourself, when you tell them that kind of sells it on them a little bit. So I've used 988 to help people, and it's an outstanding resource, but it can't be your only one. You got to kind of look at what's available through your healthcare plans. And if you have an EAP or an MAP, employee assistance program or member assistance program that does provide mental health resources, get those out there, get them to your membership, invite those people, those entities to your union meetings and have them talk to your members about the resources and get it out through email or on your website, however you can communicate with your members to get those resources out there. That's important. And that spurs conversations about these issues. And that's where it's at. How many times have we lost somebody and we hear, man, never saw that coming. Never thought this guy or this gal would do that. And that's because we're really good at hiding these things. I think the more we talk about them when there's not an issue, the more likely we are to reach somebody that is struggling, and maybe we can convince them to get some help.
I'm glad you brought that up. We have partners with the American Legion. You're probably familiar with their Be the One campaign. What you just said speaks volumes, because there's a lot of people that are contemplating taking their own life, okay? And then, like, say, in the trades, somebody that they're working with, they know that person very, very well, and they may see those changes. My question to you, and I don't know if you can answer this at this stage, are they starting to speak out saying, hey, Joe, is everything okay? I noticed that, you're kind of sad lately. Maybe you seem to be drinking more after work. Do you feel, because of this conversation we're having right now, because of the awareness, and hopefully that stigma of mental health is going away, do you see more people that are partners with somebody that may be contemplating taking their own life, saying, okay, can we talk about this? There's some help out there. Is that happening?
Yeah, it is happening. And that's what this VitalCog training is all about. The scenario you just painted with somebody you know very well who's struggling, their personality has changed or their actions have changed. And obviously you're concerned, right? So it's a matter of finding a good place to have a conversation. A lot of us in the trade carpool. So, when you're alone in a car, that's a pretty darn good place. Finding a quiet place to have this conversation and just reflect what you just saw, like, hey, Flash, I'm really concerned about you. You used to be really driven and upbeat, and it seems like you're down a lot. And, I'm concerned about you. I'm concerned about that. And I know what you're going through. And it would be reasonable for you to be struggling. And, just pop the question, are you thinking of suicide? Has that crossed your mind? Where are you at? Throw it out there. It's what we're taught. And you have to use direct language. You can't ask somebody if they're thinking about hurting themselves or doing something crazy. That's not going to get a clear answer for you. Throw that out there. Are you thinking of suicide? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. But thanks for asking, kind of thing. Once they give you that answer, thank them for the answer, and then just let them know, hey, it's okay. I know of some resources. We can put together a plan for you to get help. What's important is that people want help. We can't force people to get help. And when it's their decision, they know it's time to get help. That's when it's most likely to work. And the other part of the stigma is that people struggle. People go up, people come down. And when they're in those down times, It's when we're most likely to have a crisis or have overwhelming thoughts. And those don't go away. This is a lifetime chasing this. And I think the stigma is that when somebody has a problem, whether it's a drinking problem or a mental health problem, they go to rehab or they go get therapy and then they're better. Well, that's not necessarily the case. This is a lifetime thing that we need to support people in. What we've found is that by ignoring it, you're just kicking the can down the road. And that's not an option anymore. We're in this. We're not going to back off of this. We want to have these conversations and we want to support our brothers and sisters. That's what we do. It's just this topic that is kind of not very comfortable to talk about at all. As my good friend says, it's time to get comfortable being uncomfortable when it comes to this. We can't let this slide. We got to take these advantages to have these conversations and let people know that we care about them. I think a lot of, your question was, do we just ask? Why don't we ask? And I think people are afraid that somebody's going to blow up on them,
Yeah.
And that could happen, but that's okay. If somebody gets angry or upset, hey, sorry, I'm just concerned about you. That's all. I care about you. And you can back out of it that way, but you've still planted the seed that, hey, I see you. I see you're angry, but I still think you're dealing with stuff here. And I want you to know I got your back. You planted that seed. So hopefully they will come back to you or restart that conversation at a later time when they're ready for it.
You got it. Well said, my man. Well, I appreciate everything that you have done at the Veterans in Piping program and what you just said about what's going on, especially in the trades. It's an issue that we will continue to address with people like yourself here on America's Workforce. So I thank you for that. And again, I thank you for your service to the country. This is Memorial Day. Parting words for our surviving vets. I mean, today is the day we honor the brave, those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. You made it through. You made it through in your Navy career. Any message to the vets listening to this show today, Mike?
Yeah. Thanks, Flash. And when I think about Memorial Day, it's kind of twofold for me. Number one, it's kind of like the beginning of summer. We're leaving winter. The spring is sprung and it's a time of getting together, getting outside. And I love that part of Memorial Day. It's kind of a starter for that. But the other part of Memorial Day is, of course, the reality of why Memorial Day exists. And it's to honor and recognize the men and women who have paid the ultimate sacrifice, the ones that have died fighting for our nation, whether it's here or overseas. I think there's two things we can do to honor and to mourn. Some people are mourning, some people are celebrating, some people are honoring, and I think when we all see a veteran, we know somebody's a veteran and we're going to thank them for their service. Make sure you fully understand the true meaning of Memorial Day when you're thanking a veteran. Take the time to look them in the eyes and thank them for their service and mean it. Put some meaning behind it. That's the number one thing for me. Sharing the significance of Memorial Day with those around you. Remind people that this is about our military service members that have died for us to support our way of life here in the United States. Some people are going to be laying wreaths on the graves of their mother, their father, their brother, their sister, their wife, their child, their husband, their friend, their neighbor. Who knows? But imagine being in their shoes on Memorial Day. Remember those that are left behind as survivors and reflect on that, and if you have stories of your own from your service, tell them. And if you have buddies that you've lost, tell their stories. Don't let those be forgotten. Honor those people by telling their stories. That's what I try to do on Memorial Day. And if somebody's telling a story to you, listen with both ears and listen until they're done talking. That's what Memorial Day is about for me. It's about the stories of the brave men and women who have given the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom, and for us that are left behind to continue to tell their stories, talk about them, and make sure they're never forgotten.
Mike Hazard, Executive Director of the Veterans in Piping program, which is a service of the United Association. The website, again, is uavip.org. Love having you on the show, my brother. You keep in touch, stay safe, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And that'll be it for another edition of America's Workforce. Coming up tomorrow, how the American Legion is connecting vets to the trades. Until then, all of you have a safe and wonderful Memorial Day.
That concludes another episode of the America's Workforce Radio Podcast. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a show. America's Workforce is a production of Labor Tools and BMA Media Group. Find out more information online at labortools.com.